Do you think that this looks like a full-scale resumption of hostilities?
Well, in international circles, this is being described as a serious breach of the truce that was agreed in March. So it's obviously very ominous, but it isn't really being seen as a return to full-scale hostilities at this point, although, of course, that is the worry that it could become that. From what we know, the flare-up is centered near Kubo. You can see on the map there in the north of Ethiopia, just south of the Tigray region, and it's been said by the Tigrayan rebels that they are expecting a major attack from Ethiopian forces, so they seem to believe that this is just the start of something bigger. Obviously, we'll have to see, but as you said, Aaron, a lot of international reactions already from the African Union, from the United States, and from the United Nations, from the head of the UN, Antonio Guterres. Let's take a listen to what he had to say about this breach of the truce.
I am deeply shocked and saddened by the news of the resumption of hostilities in Ethiopia. Ethiopians, Tigrayans, Amaras, Oromos, Afars have already suffered too much. My strong appeal is for an immediate cessation of hostilities and for the resumption of peace talks between the government and the TPLF, with, at the same time, the full guarantee of humanitarian access to people in need and the reestablishment of public services.
So I think it's pretty clear from that, Aaron, that in the international community, no one wants to see a major destabilization here, neither in Ethiopia or kind of unraveling in the Horn of Africa more generally.
And no one wants to see that, Armin, at least in part, obviously, because of the humanitarian crisis. So can you tell us precisely what that crisis looks like concretely? Can you give us some key facts?
Yeah, so in Tigray itself, some of the key problems there are no banking or communication services. No banking means that Tigrayans can't withdraw their savings, so that's a huge thing. Restricted fuel imports, which actually is linked to the third point, 90% of people needing aid, according to the United Nations. The way those two are linked is that fuel is needed to actually distribute aid. So if there's no fuel coming in, there's no way of spreading the aid around, which obviously compounds the problem of more and more people needing aid, which in turn then has this knock-on effect on malnutrition, again, according to the World Food Programme and the United Nations. So obviously a very serious situation there, and the UN is saying that it's set to get worse at least until the harvest this October.
So, Armin, who do you think, if anyone at all, can help deliver sustainable peace?
Well, sustainable is really the big question, Aaron. There's been a mediation attempted by the African Union since last September. The Ethiopian government, with reservations, accepted that effort that's been led by Olusegun Obasanjo, the former president of Nigeria. But the Tigrayan leadership believe that the AU has been at best ineffectual and at worst actually covering for the government in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, and essentially that the Ethiopian leadership has allowed a kind of stonewalling of any meaningful shuttle diplomacy to happen. That's the view from the Tigrayan leadership. Meanwhile, Addis Ababa says that there's this unrealistic set of preconditions that have been put forward by Tigrayan leaders, which they say is non-negotiable. So the free movement of humanitarian supplies, removing this terrorist label from the TPLF, reparations for war damages, accountability for physical and sexual violence, holding a referendum on independence, and disarmament of the Tigray Defense Forces, or TDF. So these are very, very wide-ranging preconditions, and the Ethiopian government, not totally surprisingly, is saying we can't start with this kind of list and say, you know, we take all of these things off the table because essentially there's nothing left to negotiate. So the two sides very, very far apart at the moment.
Certainly not reassuring, Armin.